4 divers went into a cave in Florida, but only 3 came back alive. What started as a fun adventure turned into a nightmare deep underwater. One of them, a young woman named Min, was pulled into the darkness by a powerful current. She fought for her life, but the cave had other plans. This is the real story of how a peaceful dive at Manatee Springs turned deadly. 4 friends from China traveled all the way to the US to explore this cave. They were excited, experienced, and ready for anything, or so they thought. What they didn't know was that the cave had changed recently, and something terrible was waiting for them inside. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe if you like true stories that are intense, emotional, and completely real. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. It all started on the 24th of November, 2019. 4 divers, Wang, Chen, Min, and her husband Fu, arrived at Manatee Springs in Florida. They were excited to explore one of the most popular underwater cave systems in the US. Wang was the most experienced, with over 500 hours of cave diving under his belt. Chen had around 100 hours. But Min and Fu were still new to this. They only had about 11 hours of diving experience each. The group split into 2 teams. Wang and Chen went in first, using more advanced gear to check out the conditions underwater. The plan was simple. If everything looked safe, they'd come back and take Min and Fu along for the full dive. But there was one big problem. The cave system had changed. There had been heavy rain recently, and it made the underwater current much stronger. On top of that, parts of the tunnels had collapsed and nobody in the group knew it. Wang had been there before, but it had been years, and he didn't check for any updates. The group had 2 ways to get into the cave: through the bubbling Manatee Spring itself, or through a calmer area called the Catfish Hotel. Since the current was a bit gentler there, they used that entrance. At first, things seemed okay. Visibility wasn't great, but it was manageable. So Wang and Chen kept going deeper, all the way to a section called Friedman's Sink, about 1,600 feet in. They turned around, swam back to the surface, and gave Min and Fu the green light to come in. That's when everything went wrong. Min and Fu joined Wang and Chen in the water, ready to explore together. At first, the 4 of them moved as one group. They checked their oxygen levels, made sure their lights were working, and started swimming deeper into the cave system. But as they pushed forward, something felt off. The current started getting stronger. It was coming from an underground source and aquifer overflowing from all the recent rain. The water was no longer calm. It began rushing through the tunnels, shaking everything around them. Then, suddenly, it got worse. The pressure of the water broke part of the cave walls. The tunnels they had just swum through were now collapsing. The way out was disappearing behind them. Everything turned dark. The silt in the water kicked up, and it became nearly impossible to see. Their lights barely cut through the murky water. The exit they thought they could return through was now gone. They were trapped. The group tried to stay calm. They swam upward, hoping to find another way out, but the current kept pulling them back. It was so strong, they had to fight just to stay in one place. Wang, the most experienced diver, was hit the hardest. As he tried to swim against the current, it slammed him against a wall. He struggled to move, and things took a terrifying turn. His breathing device broke. He was choking underwater, gasping for air, panicking. Min saw him. She and her husband tried to help, flashing their dive lights to signal they were going for help. But they couldn't even move forward. The water was just too strong. Meanwhile, Chen was pulled into a hole and couldn't get out. Wang managed to break free from the wall, and by some miracle, the current shifted just enough to carry him toward the surface. He broke through and finally got a breath of air. Then Chen was pushed out, and so was Fu. But Min, she didn't make it. Just as she tried to follow them, the current pulled her in the opposite direction into a dark hole deep inside the cave. She was now alone, trapped, and running out of air. Of course. Here's the next 400-word section of the script, continuing from where Min is trapped alone inside the cave. Clear, emotional, and easy to follow. Then, something even worse started to happen. Loose rocks and debris began to get pulled into the hole with her. The current was so strong it started dragging pieces of the cave itself right into the space where Min was trapped. Some of those rocks pinned her limbs, her arms and legs were now stuck. And she was running out of time. Her oxygen was dropping fast. Every minute in that hole, every second she panicked, used up more of the air in her tank. She tried to slow her breathing, tried to stay calm, but the fear was overwhelming. Outside the cave, Fu realized Min wasn't behind him. While Chen lay injured and Wang was catching his breath, Fu ran for help. He alerted the park rangers, hoping someone could save his wife before it was too late. Wang, even though he had just escaped death himself, couldn't sit still. He dove right back in, hoping to reach Min. But the cave had turned violent. The current was stronger than before, like the cave was now guarding its secrets. No matter how hard Wang tried, he couldn't even get past the entrance. He was pushed back over and over again until he had no choice but to stop. He surfaced again, frustrated and helpless. All he could do now was hope rescue would come fast enough. But deep in the cave, time was running out. Min was trapped in the dark, alone, pinned by rocks, her oxygen slipping away, and rescue was still minutes away. Would help reach her in time? Or would the cave take her forever? 20 minutes later, rescue teams finally arrived at Manatee Springs. Divers geared up fast, knowing every second mattered. Wang tried to explain where Min might be. He told them about the hole, the current, and how she was last seen struggling inside. The rescue divers went in with full force, fighting against the same strong water that had nearly killed the others. But when they finally reached the spot, it was too late. Min's body was found trapped inside the cavern. The strong current, the collapsing rocks, the panacea had all become too much. She didn't survive. It was a heartbreaking moment for everyone. Her husband, Fu, was devastated. He had come to America with his wife for what was supposed to be a fun diving adventure. Instead, he left with a loss that would stay with him forever. The diving community was also shaken. Min was a certified diver, not a beginner. She had followed the rules, and yet nature had turned against her. The cave, beautiful and mysterious, had become deadly. Investigators later said the accident could have been avoided. The cave system had changed a lot due to the heavy rain. The currents were stronger, and some tunnels had collapsed completely. Warning signs were there, but no one in the group had checked for updates before the dive. Wang, who led the team, had been there before, but it had been years. He hadn't read the recent reports or looked into the updated safety alerts. That small mistake ended up costing Min her life. This story is a reminder, no matter how experienced you are, nature can always surprise you. One wrong decision, one missed detail, and everything can change in an instant. Min's story isn't just about tragedy, it's also about courage. Even in her final moments, she didn't give up. She kept fighting, pushing, trying to survive. That kind of spirit deserves to be remembered. Let her story be a lesson not just for divers, but for all of us. Always respect the power of nature. Always stay prepared. And never take safety for granted. If this story moved you or taught you something new, don't forget to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. We share real stories that matter, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.